Dr. Edwin Kim. So Dr. Edwin Kim is the director of the UNC Food Allergy Initiative and Division Chief of Pediatric Allergy and Immunology at UNC School of Medicine. He is a physician scientist specializing in the field of pediatric allergy and immunology, focusing his research on food allergy and food immunotherapy. A little background on the UNC Food Allergy Initiative, which Dr. Kim directs. It investigates the biological basis of food allergy as well as new forms of immunotherapy as treatment for food allergy. Welcome, Dr. Kim.
All right, so thank you everyone for being here, and let's see if we can figure this thing out. So we'll get right into it because I was told 5 minutes. And so yeah, so we're gonna go right into food allergy, and I think folks are here. My guess is that really these days everybody probably knows someone with a food allergy would be my guess. And so I think one of the first things I want to start with is basically the idea that waiting for food allergy hasn't worked. So many people in the room may remember, but we used to actually say, wait till the kids are 1 to be able to give milk. Wait till age 2 for egg, or even 3 for peanut. The idea there was, let's let those kids sort of mature, their immune system to mature, be able to tell us if something is wrong before we actually give them something they may be allergic to. The problem with that is it didn't prevent allergy at all. Instead, like you see here, we're in the middle of a food allergy epidemic. The estimate is about 32 million Americans are reported to have a food allergy, but probably more important for me as a pediatrician, 1 in 13 kids, so an estimate of 2 kids in every classroom. All of you guys who have kids have probably heard of peanut-free tables and things like that. None of that stuff existed before, so clearly what we're doing hasn't been working. How about once you become allergic? And so the other part of this is also that avoiding also really hasn't worked. So when we used to be able to see someone with a food allergy, we would diagnose it and basically tell them avoid the food. We have 2 actual laws here, federal laws, so the Food Allergy Labeling and Consumer Protection Act, as well as the recently published FASTER Act. These are the 2 laws. If any of you has packaged goods with you right now, if you look on the label where it says contains milk, contains egg, really straightforward. Those are all part of the law. The most common allergens have to be listed. Seems like it should help, right? The problem, though, is precautionary labels. So right below it, just like you see in the picture, those same packages that you're holding probably says, may contains this, made on a plant with this. What in the world does that mean? And the problem with this is that those are completely voluntary and unregulated. So something, these labels that's supposed to help people with allergy, unfortunately, maybe is making life even harder for those people with allergy as well. So unfortunately, even with all the guidance we're trying to provide, food allergy still is the #1 reason for anaphylaxis that's seen in emergency rooms in kids. And maybe most importantly right now, something that I think finally we're willing to talk about is not just the allergic reactions, but the actual avoiding of foods itself. It actually has consequences. It's not benign. And so really, again, like it says there, people who have food allergy, kids who have food allergy, they're living in this constant fear. The next thing they eat may cause something bad to happen. They isolate themselves, they're restricting the activities, they don't go to restaurants, they don't participate in sports, things that we sort of take for granted. And all of that leads to a really, really poor quality of life for the kid, and then consequently for their family as well. But the reason I'm here to talk to you all is thankfully, in just the last 10 years since my training, we're actually changing the narrative on food allergy. We're actually trying to do something different. And so first I want to talk about a study called the LEAP study, the Learning Early About Peanuts study. Some of you in the room who know about food allergy may have heard of this, but this was a landmark study that was published in 2015. And what this talked about was the opposite of what we were mentioning about avoiding and waiting for the food allergy. But here, what they took 4 to 11-month-old kids and said, hey, we're going to give them peanut early before they have a chance to become allergic to actually prevent the allergy from happening. And so sure enough, this graph will show you, you don't have to read it or anything, just look at the gray. Those are the kids who avoided. So this highly likely group of patients became allergic when they avoided the food. On the other hand, the ones that started to eat the food, started to eat the peanut when they were really young before they become allergic, clearly you see a difference there that we've been able to prevent the allergy. Not in everybody, but a huge chunk of these kids that otherwise would have become allergic, by eating that food early, we've actually made a difference. Now, what if they still become allergic? So we're going to try to give them the food, the peanut, the milk, or give it to them early. What if they still become allergic? Then what? And so we have something called immunotherapy. It's a treatment for food allergies. So again, rather than just waiting for something bad to happen, waiting for that reaction, we can do immunotherapy, which is gradually increasing exposure to the food that you're allergic to retrain that immune system to not become allergic anymore. We look at this in two different forms: oral immunotherapy, where you actually eat the food to your stomach, and then sublingual, where you actually put the food allergen underneath your tongue to access the immune system there. And we have two big studies that we've been part of at UNC. One of them is something called the IMPACT study, run by the Immune Tolerance Network, which was supported by the NIH. In this study, we took 1 to 4-year-old kids with peanut allergy and then built them up eating small amounts of peanut flour. And what we found is after 2.5 years of treatment, when they used to become reactive to maybe even just trace this amount of peanut, so about 1/3 of one peanut kernel is all it took for them to become allergic. Suddenly after this treatment, they're eating a full serving size, 5 grams, 20 peanuts worth without any symptoms at all. Even more exciting is 6 months later, after stopping the treatment, that benefit was still there. So the immune system, we actually were able to change it to have a lasting, maybe not permanent, but a somewhat lasting benefit. At the bottom was a study we recently published where we actually looked at using that medicine under the tongue and found the same thing with the under the tongue treatment. Finally, the last slide I want to talk about is biologics. So again, we see commercials all the time, and we're actually able to go into the immune system, turn off the IgE part of the immune system that actually causes allergies, and in this case, actually treat multiple allergies simultaneously, not just that peanut allergy, but also the milk and the egg. Much, much, much more is coming. So there's a bunch of different studies and different treatments that are here. But the main point is we're actually able to do something now. We're changing the narrative on food allergy. We don't have to just sit there and be reactive, wait for something bad to happen, but we can get in there and actually try to prevent it. And if they are still allergic, we can do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay right up there for your questions. Thank you, Dr. Kim. That was great. My daughter, it was 6 years old, and we found out she was allergic to peanuts. And it was a not so pleasant experience. What should parents do if they find themselves in a situation where that is an allergy develops that they didn't know and they're in that moment? What's the first step to take?
Yeah, so if you're talking about sort of in the moment at the home when that allergic reaction is happening, absolutely. If you've got the antihistamine available to you, if you happen to have the epinephrine available, you do that saving medicine, use it right away. These are super duper safe medicines, and we tell everyone when in doubt, it's better to use it, and better to give more and overtreat than undertreat when you're talking about allergic reactions.
I want to open it up to the audience, but tag on to that. Should we have that medicine at home on hand?
Yeah, so again, I think when we talk about epinephrine, we know it's super duper safe and it works so well. And so this is something that we've been pushing very hard to get it in schools, get it on airplanes, wherever we can, because this could potentially be life-saving for someone who maybe knows or doesn't know that they have an allergy.
So first of all, Dr. Kim, thank you for all that you do. How do you identify the group that are going to be maybe reactive? Is it just simply through IgE numbers, or is there some other?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And so we do know that there are some risk factors that for someone to be more likely to become allergic. One of the biggest ones is genetics. So if you've got parents who have allergies, if both parents are allergic, there's up to a 70–80% chance that that kid will have some form of allergy. Whether it's food allergy or it's pollen allergy or otherwise, that stuff we're still teasing out. But it might be that, it might be lab biomarkers, it may be other diseases. So we know that kids who have eczema are going to be a higher chance to have food allergies and other allergies as well. Thank you.
Hi. So with you're talking about getting the kids eating like peanuts earlier, is this something that would also work during like pregnancy if the mother is eating peanuts and shellfish? That would also help the child?
Yeah, fantastic question. So pregnancy is an area that we absolutely are trying to understand. And we actually have a birth cohort going on right now trying to understand what is that sort of right time or wrong time for exposure that may cause an allergy or prevent it. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have a great answer on exactly sort of should you eat it, will that protect or not. And so we're sort of with the wimpy kind of in moderation at this time because we just don't know. But again, we've got important birth cohorts that are trying to get at that answer for us right now.
All right, question in the back, if you look straight down the middle.
The efficacy of immunotherapy?
Yeah, so on the question of age, what we have seen is that those younger kids, their immune systems are still developing. They're still possibly becoming allergic, but equally so, we do think that we are more likely to be able to change it to be not allergic. And so what we have seen with immunotherapy and other types of treatments is if you can start that earlier, when the kids are 1, 2, 3 years old, we are getting a stronger effect and possibly a longer lasting. But I think a key point here is that we are able to treat all ages, so that doesn't disqualify your middle school kid. But we do think that if you can get in there early and get them started on this, it can be more effective.
How does the U.S. compare to other geographies? Do you find that we're more prevalent for these types of issues, less, and what are the factors?
Yeah, so I think, this question of, why is there so much food allergy out there and what, are we the same or different in other countries comes up all the time. So we have a ton of allergy compared to a lot of other countries that are out there. And so we are, again, trying to tease out, clearly it's not just genetics, but what in the environment, what in our behaviors is sort of leading to this. One of the things is probably our feeding practices. Like I mentioned, we've been delaying the introduction, so that's part of the problem. But could it be sort of other exposures or timing of exposures and absolutely stuff in that, again, that birth cohort that we're doing, trying to understand what is that sort of wrong exposure and wrong time that may lead to this happening.
Question in the back.
You mentioned the study that looked at 11 months starting the allergens. Is there any evidence that starting before then, or is there too soon? And then how often do you need to expose it when you do start?
Great question. So that actual group we looked at was 4 to 11 months of age. So basically, once they were able to start eating was the point that we started to talk about introducing the food. And what we have seen is even within the 4 to 11-month-olds, if you start at 4, 5, 6 months, those kids did better than the 10, 11, 12 months. Really, the key there is to try to get in there before they become allergic. And so the longer they're waiting, the more opportunity they have to become exposed and become allergic.
Unfortunately, it is time. I know there are a bunch of other questions, but Dr. Kim will stick around, right? And you can ask him additional questions after the event.